Hi everyone, you're welcome to our YouTube channel. Today we'll be looking at common errors in the use of some nouns that we have in English. Now there are some nouns that exist in plurals. They exist in plurals. They are always found together technically. Examples are scissors, glasses, trousers, pants, pajamas, binoculars, headphones. Now we call this group of nouns pluralia tantum. Pluralia tantum in the sense that we see them together. For instance, when we talk about your scissors now, you can't have just one existing alone. When you have your headphones, it's actually going to exist in pairs, in twos. Have your trousers, your pants, your binoculars, they exist in twos, like you see them in two. For instance, if you have your headphone, you're going to see one, the left here, and you're going to see the right here. If you have your trousers, you're going to have the one for the right leg and the one for the left leg. I mean, together existing like that. It's not possible for you to have your trousers and you just wear one leg and the other leg is empty. It's not possible. You have your glasses, you just have this one, you know, for one eye and the other eye is empty. It's not possible. It exists in twos. That is the way we see pluralia tantum. They exist in twos, and so we say that they come in pairs, and that is why we're having them as scissors, as glasses, as trousers, as pants. Now the thing about pluralia tantum is that we can't actually see them alone, okay? Or when it stands alone, it's giving us a completely different meaning. For instance, glass standing alone, like existing is singular, is giving us a completely different meaning from glasses as the one you wear. Or you say having scissors, the meaning would not give us, or having scissor existing alone would not give us what we actually mean, okay? So it makes sense, they get their own sense by existing together, and that is why we call them that: headphones, your pajamas, your pants, your binoculars, and all of that. Now, these pluralia tantum attract plural verbs. For instance, you're saying, your glasses are nice. Okay, you're not going to say your glasses is nice or what have you. Your headphones are good or beautiful. They attract plural verbs. Your scissors, your trousers, your pants, your binoculars, and all of that. And they attract them as a pronoun. It makes sense if it's plural, then them is a plural pronoun in the objective case and not it. For instance, if you make a statement like your glasses are nice, right, you're going to say, where did you get them? Okay, and them there corresponds to glasses. So the agreement, you can't say your glasses are nice, where did you get it? No, your glasses are nice, where did you get them? However, we can use a pair of to specify the number of what we are talking about, the number of the pluralia tantum that we're talking about, the number of these objects that we're talking about. The agreement with the verb then depends on how many pairs we're talking about. Now look at this example. I bought 3 pairs of trousers for my presentation. Here you have 3 pairs, specifying that you have what? You have a pair of trousers, you have another pair of trousers, and you have the third pair of trousers that you have. So in that case, if we're talking about 3 pairs of trousers, then the agreement will be with a what? With a plural verb. But when talking about a pair of scissors in the second example that we have, then it's going to be is, because the agreement will be with a pair of. So that's why I said earlier that we can use a pair of to specify the number of what we're talking about. The agreement with the verb then depends on how many pairs we're talking about. I bought 3 pairs of trousers for my presentation. A pair of scissors is needed in my shop. That is the agreement. So a pair of will attract a singular verb, right? Because it's just a pair of that particular thing. But scissors existing alone will attract what? Will attract a plural verb. Trousers existing alone, or glasses existing alone, or binoculars or pajamas or headphones existing alone will attract plural verbs. But when you're having the number, when you want to specify the number that we have, then the agreement then will depend on how many pairs that we have. I bought 3 pairs of trousers for my presentation. A pair of scissors is needed in my shop. Now, that is for the pluralia tantum, which always exist in groups, in twos. They make sense that way. They make sense that way. They get their own meanings that way, existing like that. But there are other nouns that are only singular. There are other nouns that are only singular, and they attract singular verbs, even though they end in s. Now, these nouns are quite tricky. They end in s, just like the pluralia tantum, but it's different from the pluralia tantum in the sense that in the pluralia tantum, they always exist in twos, right? They make sense that way. That is how they get their meanings: glasses, binoculars, and all of that. But there are other nouns that are only singular, and they attract singular verbs, even though they end in s. Now, I'm going to give an example like names of academic subjects. Names of academic subjects. Academic subjects like mathematics. Mathematics ends in s, right? But mathematics is singular. Physics ends in s, but physics is singular. Classics ends in s, but classics is singular. Economics ends in s, but economics is singular. Statistics ends in s, but statistics is singular. Names of academic subjects like that attract singular verbs, and they are singular in nature. This is different from pluralia tantum. Perhaps I should call this pluralia tantum and whatnot, and some items that look like pluralia tantums, and some nouns that end in s, but they have their own different cases where we have them. So names of academic subjects such as classics, economics, mathematics or math, physics, statistics all end in s, but they attract singular verbs. Physical activities like gymnastics and aerobics, they end in s, but they attract singular verbs, and they are singular in nature. They are considered singular. Games like snakes and ladders, like draughts, like darts, they end in s, but they are singular. So you can't say snakes and ladders are my favorite game. No, snakes and ladders is my favorite game. So that is, the agreement will be with a singular verb for all these nouns that we have. Diseases even, such as measles and mumps, you're going to have that as measles is, let's say, dangerous, for instance, perhaps, or is deadly, perhaps. So you have measles, then you have the agreement with a singular verb. Measles is deadly, right? So you have mumps, and words like news and series also attract singular verbs. Now, you discover something particular about this second group, which is the what not of the pluralia tantum, which is like what looks like pluralia tantum, but it's not pluralia tantum, because pluralia tantum always exists in twos to make their own meanings. When you talk about measles or economics or math or aerobics or snakes and ladders or droughts or doubts, they exist alone. We don't have them in pairs, right? So all of them also end in s, but they are singular in nature. First, you have to know the groups that we have: names of academic subjects, classes, economics, math, and what you have. Physical activities like gymnastics and aerobics, snakes and games like snakes and ladders, draughts, darts, diseases such as measles and mumps, and the words like news and series. Now, examples: when I was in secondary school, physics was one of the best subjects that I liked, all right? When I was in secondary school, physics was one of the best subjects that I liked. I wouldn't say when I was in secondary school, physics were. It's not possible, because physics, even if it ends in s, it's still singular. It's still considered as a singular subject. So the agreement will be with a singular verb. When I was in secondary school, physics was one of the best subjects that I liked. Now, the second one is the news of his appointment is all over the town. The news of his appointment is. We can't have the agreement. We can't say the news of his appointment are, because news is singular. And since news is an example of non-count noun, so we can't talk about a news, c'est pas possible comme ça. It's not possible like that. So we're going to talk about, you know, an item of news, a piece of news, because no count nouns, in my previous video, we learned that no count nouns do not take a or an, except in a very rare occasion they take partitives, like an item of, a piece of. So we can talk about a piece of news, two pieces of news, or two items of news that we have. The news of his appointment is all over the town. Now the agreement is with news. Now there is another example like this. Let's say the news of his successes, okay, is all over the town. Let's have that example, the news of his successes. Now we're not going to make the agreement with successes, because successes is not the main subject there. The real subject is news. Do not forget to turn on your post notification when I'm going to explain in my next video the structure of a noun phrase that we have. So making an agreement properly with elements of noun phrases, identifying the head of a phrase and how it is different from the modifiers and qualifiers of that particular phrase. Because now the example I gave earlier, the news of his successes is all over the town. We can't make an agreement with successes, not with the element, not with the closest element to the verb, because successes is not the real subject there. The real subject is the news, right? So we're going to talk about noun phrase, the structure of a noun phrase in next class. Look at another example. Snakes and ladders is Exeter's favorite game. Snakes and ladders is Exeter's favorite game. Now, snakes and ladders is considered as a singular entity, because even if there is an there, it's just a game that we have. So we can say snakes and ladders are, because it comes alone. It's like it's one. The idea of number in grammar is that this is we have it as singular. This is one, and we have it as plural. This is one, and like two or more than that. We would have to bring logic to it. If we're talking about snakes and ladders as a game, then you're not talking about, let's say, snakes here, then ladders in another case. No, that is different. This is snakes and ladders existing alone. Or say if you're talking about economics or measures, we don't have them like we have economic here, which is terrible, and you have another economic there, which is, you know, which is more terrible. I'm going to put it that way. So all examples that I've given earlier, names of academic subjects, physical activities, games, diseases, and the words like news and series, all of them attract, always attract singular verbs. Now let's consider another example of this what not of pluralia tantum. What is not pluralia tantum but just look like that? The group nouns, there are nouns that come in group. They are called generic collective nouns. I call them generic collective nouns because it pertains to, it's cut across a number of people, a set of people. They are called group nouns because they exist in group, but they are called generic because they are not specific in one place. They are scattered all over the places. Now group nouns like this attract plural verbs. Remember, I said we will particularly call them generic collective nouns. Examples like the poor, the rich, the police, the clergy, the needy, the less privileged, cattle, the Joneses. Now, you discover something about all of these, apart from one example or two, apart from cattle, all of these group nouns have the definite article preceding them, have the definite article the preceding them. So you have the poor, it's a group noun. So you've categorized a lot of people that are poor, and you've put them in one place, like bam, they are the poor. And you have the rich, you have a lot of people that are rich. So you've categorized them and you put them in one place. Bam. This is the rich. We have the rich. Then you have the police as people in the police force and the building and everything that makes up the police, the system and all of that. You have the clergy. You do the same thing for the needy. You do the same thing for the less privileged. Please note the spelling of privileged, I, then E. The less privileged, Aside cattle, that stands alone, and you also have the Joneses. Now, the Joneses mean, when we have that as a word, it means that you talk about every member of the Joneses, right? Let's say my surname, for instance, is Ikwerowo. Now, you're going to have the Ikwerowos with S. There is no need, take note, there is no need to have apostrophe and S. Or we can have the Joneses and have, when we get to N and we have apostrophe and S. No, the Joneses is just written with like as the Joneses with no apostrophe. The same thing with the Ikwerowos, the Bamideles. I mean, like members of that particular family. The Bamideles, the Oluwoles with S, the your surname, think about that and do not put any apostrophe. Now look at this example. The rich also cry, but their cry may not be related to financial cry like the poor people. But then the rich also cry, right? I mean, that means they also have their own pains. They also have things that worry them, things that give them problems or issues and all of that. So the rich also cry. We're not going to say the rich also cries. You know, cry is a singular, is a plural verb. Plural verb do not take I or IES or ES. Singular verbs take I or IES or ES. So the rich also cry. The poor do require our help, do need our help. Not our help, okay? The poor do require or need our help. Now we're not going to say the poor does require. No, it doesn't work that way. We don't do that here in English, particularly. We're saying the poor do require. And remember that the forms of verb to do, does, did, all of them attract the base form, the base infinitive of a verb. Now, require is a base infinitive. We cannot have do requires c'est pas possible comme ça. It's not possible like that. We can have that. We're going to say the poor do require our help, and require is not pronounced. It's not pronounced as require, as most people do, because there is a triphthong there. Please try to watch one of my videos on learning triphthongs with fun. So you're going to have the clarification on the pronunciation of some of these words. So the rich also cry, the poor do require our help, right? Now it's not okay. Let's say the needy are many in our society. The needy are many, and we're not going to say the needy are much. Remember that we don't use much for count nouns. We use many for count nouns. We use much for non-count nouns. Yeah, it's not possible to say, oh, the people in the class are much. C'est pas correct. It's not correct. It's wrong grammatically. The people in the class are many. And you're not going to say the people in the class are plenty, because plenty has to attract of with it. So you're going to say I have plenty of people, and you're not going to say plenty people. Okay, plenty of people. Plenty people is wrong. Then you say plenty of people correctly. It's not over, right? So we still have some nouns that are always in plural. And why? Why is it like that? Why do we have these nouns like that? It's because, okay, say when we talk about surroundings, which is a word that always exists in plurals, always exists in plurals. When we say surroundings, we're talking about every part of the surroundings, right? So for instance, when we talk about premises, let's say the premises of the school, you're not talking about just the let's say, can I say the facade, and the front part of the building. You're talking about the front part of the building, the left, the right, the back part of the building of the school. So it's actually more than one, technically. When we talk about the outskirts of Ibadan, for instance, the outskirts of Ibadan cannot be just one place. So we'll talk about outskirts in that particular manner. We actually mean like there are many, it's not just one. So outskirts of Ibadan, we talk about many places that, you know, share border or share boundary with other states. When we talk about rights, headquarters, savings, belongings, thanks, likes, thanks as a what is it called? As the word, likes, dislikes, congratulations, earnings, goods, remains, right? Surroundings, headquarters, savings, premises, outskirts, rights, belongings, thanks, likes, dislikes, congratulations, earnings, goods, and remains. Now, for likes, I'm going to say something. People say like, oh, we want to meet Tolu, Ade, Dolapo, Bamidele, and the likes. That is wrong. You're going to want to meet Tolu, Ade, Tope, Bamidele, and the like. Not and the likes, no. Nigerians, people that speak, it's not and the likes. Likes here is like, my likes are different from yours. That is different as a noun. But when you're using that as other other members of that particular group, you can have Tolu, Ade, Bamidele, and the likes. It's wrong. Tolu, Ade, Bamidele, and the like. Full stop. No S. Now for remains means a part of a dead body, right? So you're talking about, let's say his remains, for instance, have been buried. You're not going to have his remains has been buried. No, his remains have been buried. Singular exist in plural, and they attract plural verbs. Okay, all of this last group that I was talking about: surroundings, headquarters, savings, premises, outskirts, rights, belongings, thanks, and all of them, congratulations, they always exist in plurals, and they attract plural verbs. His remains have been buried. So if you're talking about remain, do we mean like it's not one, no, like we're talking about different parts of his body as the remains, right? Like as a corpse. And perhaps someone now noted, what if we're talking about, let's say if someone had an accident, for instance, and we're only talking about one part of the person's body, let's say his hand, and do we still call that remains? Yes, even if it's just his hand that we're going to bury or put into the grave or whatever, the tomb or whatever, we're still going to talk about remains because it's still what remains, right? After his other parts of his body are gone. Okay, so his remains have been buried. INEC national headquarters are in Abuja, not INEC national headquarter is, or not INEC national headquarters is. So INEC national headquarters are in Abuja. The military headquarters, we're talking about headquarters, always exist in S. The premises is goods have been confiscated by some immigration officers. Foreign goods have been confiscated, both are correct, by some immigration officers. So we have that example: premises, outskirts, rights, belongings, congratulations, likes, dislikes, outskirts, surroundings, savings. And someone was asking, I think one of the physical classes I had with my students, and what if you're actually talking about, what if you don't have money? And yeah, so if you do not have money, you can't talk about savings. Or if you even if you have let's say for instance, you have 2,000 naira in your account as your savings. Why do we have to call that savings with S when it's just 2,000 naira? Because I would say that the 2000 era doesn't just appear like that. It's the 2000 era is an accumulation of your little saving. I'm going to put it that way. And so if you're calling that as a word now, we're going to have savings, because we have let's say you have 500 naira today, you have 200 naira, you have 100 naira, and all of that. So it's just an accumulation that gives us the savings that we have. So you can see the reason why the last part of this what not are always in plural forms, and they attract plural verbs. Now it is also important to talk about the expression many a. The expression many a. The expression many a can only be followed by a singular noun. The expression many a can only be followed by a singular noun. Therefore, the verb that follows it must be singular. Let me repeat that. The expression many a can only be followed by a singular noun. Therefore, the verb that follows it must be singular. Take for example, so we have many a student is often careless. So many a will attract singular noun, then we attract singular verb. Take note, many a student means many students, right? For instance, we can have an example. Many a woman likes with S money. Oh, sorry, I'm not being biased gender-wise. It's just an example. Many a woman likes money. So you have that. Then it actually means that many women, and not women like money. Many women like money. It's going to change. The verb there is going to be plural. Many women like money. Many a woman likes money. Do you understand that? So these are some nouns that will have in S that pose a lot of confusion, starting from the first group of the pluralia tantum that we have that always exist in groups. The second group that's only singular and they attract singular verbs, like math, economics, you know that. And the third group that we have as group nouns that always attract plural verbs, the poor, the rich. Then to the last group that always exists in plural form, because we are not talking about one of it, we're talking about a lot of it, like surroundings, headquarters, premises. Then lastly, we talked about the many a rule that we have. Thanks for watching. See you in our next class.